All right, this is like the fourth take of this. This is really getting frustrating. The tines were separated. It's hard to show you. Um, they're they were fairly aligned, and there's still lots of material there. So it's not, you didn't ruin it. I think there was just a spread, and so you were feeling a little, you were catching the inside of the tine. The tines were, it was separated a bit. And so the only way to fix that with this pen, because the feed was close to the end, was to actually pull the nib out. And the way you fix it is you overlap them. So I'll intentionally take this, so you take the nib and you separate them and you overlap them, push them together. I'm about 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters. Hold it for a second and do it the opposite direction. Hold it a second, and that usually works. And then when you're checking for alignment, you always check from this angle. I don't know if you knew that. It looks great. It looks perfect. Also, besides just taking them and overlapping them, pushing them, you can take both of them together firmly and push down. This nib doesn't need that. So now I'm going to put it back together. All right, so I got it back together. That's tricky, isn't it? Having to hold all three. And actually that looks like it's sticking out too far beyond the feed. Okay, so I got it back in. I'm looking at it again, and it's much better. Sorry. So they're aligned. They're touching. Anyway, take my word for it. So I'm going to go over it with some micro mesh. I don't know if you used a loop when you were doing that, but I always do. You know, I stop every once in a while and look. And also, if the tines were spread and you were going over it with a micro mesh, you weren't doing anything. You have to, they have to be aligned and together, otherwise it's pointless. All right, so I'm going to do that and I'll let you know how it goes. A little tip about getting everything back together. I put everything back, I try to hold everything together and give it a go, but I don't go all the way. I push in a few millimeters and then I stop and check things out and see how everything is aligned. And if the nib's out too far, I'll push it back in, or if the the overfeed is canted, then I'll fix that. And you just make little adjustments as you go and advance it a little bit more, and then look at everything again. Advance it the rest of the way. Okay, it looks good. Okay, Stephanie, also, it had, you said you hit it with micro mesh too. It had a kind of a very slight baby bottom to it. If you don't know what that is, it's when you're using you probably know what that is, but so let's pretend this was a fountain pen tip, and the tines are perfectly smoothed out, but this inside edge can be a little sharp if it's super fine, and you probably felt that, and you were probably trying to smooth that out. And when you use micro mesh and you use any pressure with these pens at all, because they flex easier, the tines will spread, and you will end up rounding out the inside of the tine, and it'll look something like that. And then maybe you just did it at the tip, or at this angle. I'm not sure which angle you did it, but then subsequently the inside portion of the tip was maybe still a little sharp, and it was catching. Maybe, I'm not sure. It's hard to say. But when I'm using micro mesh on a flexible pen, I'm just letting the pen, using the weight of the pen. I'm not pushing down. That's how you want to do it, unless you're trying to do this. Not to this extent, but you're trying to smooth out the inside. So I completely eliminated that baby bottom. And if you look, so it's a little sharper there on the inside. Maybe that's what you don't like. It's hard to say. If you're trying, so I suspect that's what you didn't like. It was a bit sharp on the side to side, and so you tried to eliminate that, but you need to go slow. So I have micro mesh here. I just did a couple passes on 8. I can't remember what grit this is. Just a couple, you know, slight flexing side like that, just to work on the inside of the tine. So it's better. Maybe a little bit more. Twist it. So I'm getting the inside of the right tine when I do this, getting the inside of the left tine. You can use brass, a shim. It's pretty tricky to